I'm back to our right guy garage and still finding hacked up stuff on the 65 Mustang hack job. So follow me along and let's get into it. So, as you guys can see, I'm filthy with paint. Like this thing was slathered in when we first started. I thought the pulleys and the fan would have been the easy things here. Yeah, the fan's got about 45 coats of the same poor enamel that the rest of the car had on it. So I've been working on wire brush stripping it because nothing else to take it off. Not even paint stripper. Yep, this is how this video is going to start. But on a serious note, guys, in this video, we need to get a cooling system on this car. We need to get the fuel pump hooked up to the car and start bolting all those little small things that are no fun on to make the engine run. I doubt we'll get it started in this video, but let's try to see what kind of progress we make. So I started off with this fan, and I know you guys ain't gonna be able to see it on camera, but this thing has at least 5 or 10 coats of paint and maybe a coat of undercoating under it. And I've been wire brushing on it over here for about 45 minutes at this point, and I've got most of it stripped off. I wanted to kind of keep his factory fan instead of putting a repop on it, because there's a whole lot less chance that, you know, it could come apart and tear something up. Because sometimes aftermarket stuff ain't great, guys, and if you can reuse factory stuff and it cleans up somewhat easy, reuse it. But yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm gonna bring you guys out here and I'm gonna show you the other stuff that I painted earlier for this video. So let me flip it around. So I got our fan shroud brackets painted, I got our fan shroud painted, and I have come in here, and this is the radiator that I'd got for him. It is a 4-core aluminum radiator. I come in here and I painted the core area at the front, because nothing looks worse on a classic car than seeing a bright silver aluminum radiator sticking out of your grill, or my personal opinion. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys still feel the same way. So I want it to look right once the radiator's in there. I don't want a big silver rectangle right there in the way. So like I said, I just taped it off. I wiped it down with some thinner and hit it with a Scotch-Brite a little bit and sprayed it with some enamel. And it should last a good long time. But since the last video, not a whole lot's happened. I put the hood back on it, and I come in here and I put the heater hoses on it with the correct tower clamps back there. I got us a adapter fitting for aftermarket intake to our heater hose union. Other than that, not a whole lot's happened with this, because we have No Name Nationals race. I just got back from it. Today is the Monday of my return. And the 68 Charger is over there too. I have put like 2 power steering pumps and 2 power steering boxes on it, and it still ain't right. So yeah, things going on around the shop have kind of held up progress on just about everything. So it's been chaotic, it's been crazy. I've got about 2 weeks before our Six Smokies event, and my goal in those 2 weeks is to make the 65 run. So hopefully the next few videos you guys see will be on the 65 and some major leaps and bounds in progress. We've got all our parts inside. I got our fan primered and painted. I've got our fan shroud in here. I'm gonna let this stuff kind of cure out overnight, but that old fan already looks a billion times better than what it did. Well, it's next day, and apparently I got a big blob of something up here on my eyebrow. Who knows? Stuff happens. The fan, the radiator, the brackets have all dried out. So let me flip it around. So, got the fan on the engine. If you're going to run a 4-core radiator, you need to get the short fan spacer. The fan will only go on one way because it has raised ribs on the front side. The recessed portion is going to go against your spacer. So super simple, just make sure to tie it. And I went ahead and stuck our fan shroud over the top over here, so it's just sitting over top of the engine. The radiator is right here, and it looks a lot better with that front painted black, so it won't stick out as much. And I got our brackets and our little clips installed for our fan shroud bolts right here. And this is the mounting hardware kit from Kentucky Mustang right there. You can pause that for your part number. And this is where you get them. So I'm going to put you guys a bit on time lapse. I'm going to put this radiator and the fan shroud and stuff on here. It's 4 bolts. I'll come back at the end and show you the orientation for the fan shroud and the brackets, because it is all very specific for clearance issues. And we'll talk about our radiator to fan clearance and our fan to shroud clearance and how that affects the cooling capacity of your vehicle. The radiator is bolted in. The fan shroud brackets, guys, they have a slotted side, and that side's going to go towards your shroud, and a singular bolt side, and that's going to go towards your radiator flange. And this is dirt. This thing's pretty dirty. That allows you to slide the shroud up or down, you know, in or out if you need to, in order to get the clearance around the fan blades to make sure none of that stuff hits. Well, let's get into our fan shroud clearance. Ideally, you want this fan blade about halfway inside the shroud, like so. And generally, you want it within an inch and a half of the radiator core at the tightest point. We're right at 1.5 inches. So we should have a good fan shroud and fan relationship here, and that's going to help cooling. The factory shrouds for these cars aren't much for, you know, sealing to the radiator, but they do help. And so does the R model lower valance down there. Helps get a little extra airflow through that core. And that's going to get into the discussion of the 4-blade, 5-blade, 6-blade, 7-blade fan thing. I'll tell you something, guys. These 4-blade fans, dirt track guys use them for years. Why? Because they suck a lot of air. Can't hardly go wrong with one, as long as you have the proper relationship with a shroud and the fan itself and the radiator. Do these 7-blade flex fans use less power? Do all the flex fans or a clutch fan use less power? Absolutely. And you could totally put one on in this application, but this car, other than the camshaft and the set of headers, is pretty much stock. So a stock cooling system with an upgraded radiator and a few little small things will help out greatly. And another huge major thing, guys, especially with high RPM or interstate use that is forgotten, is a spring that goes in the little radiator hose. Because you're going to get this thing from your parts store. That's what this is. The Gates 204/75. You'd be like, oh, I can put this hose right on my car. Guess what it don't have? It don't have a spring in it. So on the suction side, you can suck this thing together, and when this thing gets hot, it's going to get soft, and it can suck that hose together, and that's what that spring's here to stop from happening. So you need the radiator hose spring. Right there's your number. And I tell you guys, these things are cheap. I've used coat hangers before, wrapped them around something about the same diameter. Works just fine too. But when you can get a spring, get the spring, because it's a little easier to put in. And it's going to look like this. It's just a big, piece of cold wire that you're going to have to twist inside of this hose. And it's not hard. The hard part's getting it around the bend, and if you keep working it enough, you'll eventually get it to thread itself up in there. And once it's through the other side, you can reach down there and pull it through. And once it's in there, you can't squeeze, you can't collapse this hose whatsoever. And another big thing you're going to have to watch on these early cars and all vintage Mustangs in general, this thing's going to have a tendency to want to hit that sway bar right in here in this area. You can trim the hose a little bit, bring it up. Don't just let it ride on that sway bar, because over time it'll rub a hole in your hose. Alright, so it's a day later. I had another job come in I had to do, so I jumped off the Mustang for a little while. Got a belt right here, got the belt on it, got the lower radiator hose on it down there, and I've got plenty of room to our sway bar. I ended up shortening that hose and bringing it up. We got over an inch to that sway bar, so no problem there. But you're going to deal, if you use regular hose clamps like this, and I put these on the radiator hoses, just because generally these tower type clamps are hard to get off and reuse. So on the radiator hose application, that way if you get out on the side of the road, I try to make sure that it's somewhat easy to service. So you're going to get this at your parts store. This big old giant tail right here. So what I'd like to do, I'll mock these hoses up. I'll take a Sharpie marker and I'll go in there and mark it where there's about a 1/4 inch sticking out of it with it snug. It's not 100% tight, but it's snug. So I'll do that on this one. I'll do that on this one. And what I'll do, I'll take these back off. I'll come over here with my cutoff wheel. I'll just buzz that tab off. And we'll be good to reinstall those. And if you do your job well, you won't have a big old giant tail sticking off your hose clamp. And it looks a lot better that way. So, just a helpful tip that might help somebody out. Well, I don't know if I covered this earlier in the video, but I had to find a factory fitting to go in the intake right here. This reproduction one. I don't know if you can see right there. I went and got a brass adapter and stuff fitting this aftermarket intake. You can see right there. Yeah, that's a hole. Brand new, out of the box. That's a hole. See it around through there? It's right here in this little area right here. So, always check your aftermarket parts, guys. And sometimes you may end up cleaning up a factory one and putting it back in there. I don't know. I'm still not thrilled with a lot of this aftermarket stuff. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's just poor. And I will say this, it don't matter if it's a reproduction or a restoration part, you got that chance at a parts store too. I've had it happen many times. However, it's hard to beat a factory one. They just don't look as nice as a new one. So, I think at this point we need to move on to the ignition stuff, and that means the distributor and stuff. And I'm not going to put it in for the final time because I've still got to prime this engine right before we start it. So, we're just going to get it prepped and get it in there, get the coil mounted, and we can go a little further from there, I think. Alright, and this is what we're going to use for ignition stuff. This is a Petronix flamethrower coil that matches their distributor. Get it from Kentucky Mustang. Right there's part number. This is the 1.5 ohm flavor. The sticker that comes on them peels off. So, you know, that way if you don't want tacky looking aftermarket stuff on your car. Coil bracket. Now here's part number. Coil bracket bolt and strap bolt. Right here you go. This is the one that comes with the bracket. This one right here is the correct style AMK one that is installed. And the bolt. So, coil and brackets together. This is supposed to be a OE look distributor. Obviously it don't look like an OE distributor with a sticker stuck on the side of it, so that will be going away. And to make a true K-code looking clone, you wouldn't have a vacuum advance either, so this is something we're going to use on this one. We do have to change the distributor gear. Even though this one is supposed to be a steel gear, comp will not warranty their camshaft unless you put their gear on there. And this is supposed to be a melanized steel gear. So this added roughly $105 to the cost of the distributor just to maintain its camshaft warranty. And to usually change the distributor gear, I'll chuck it up in the vise right here just above the shaft. I'll use a old piece of drill bit that I've cut off flat on both sides. And generally you can just tap that pin out, and you're gonna need to save that, because this one actually does have a nice thick roll pin. And this is where you're going to tell a lot about your distributor quality. If you can pull this gear off with your hands, the distributor has a very bad press fit, and that's where you start to see those roll pins sheared off, like what you've seen in the Budget 308 my Torino. So in this case, what I'll do, I'll lightly apply a little bit of heat to the gear itself, and we'll just tap this thing right off. Shouldn't have to apply a whole lot of heat to it. And it's going to be important to keep your torch lit too. But this torch head ain't the best thing since sliced bread. So I'm just going to apply just a little bit of heat. And as you can see, this torch is rather uncontrollable sometimes. So we're just going to add a little bit of heat here. Like I said, it shouldn't take a whole lot. And we'll see if we can't tap this little puppy off. And this one's got a really good press fit, so it's going to take a little bit. Well, for love nor money did that thing want to come off. And as you can see, you look at the shaft. See right there, all them gouges and stuff. That's what I was greeted with when I got the gear off of it. I went over and got this and went over to the press and had to use a 12-ton press to get this gear off with it scalding red hot. And you see in there where it had tried to fuse itself with the shaft. So that's off. Now, on a brand new distributor, I guess they press this thing to get it full of metal or something. I gotta get this shaft cleaned up. And then we gotta get our new gear on there and make sure we have the proper interference fit when we put it together. So, our comp gear is supposed to be 467 thousandths on the inside. And it's about 459. That's quite a bit off. And our shaft here is 471 thousandths, which would have left us with a pretty decent interference fit if this was in the right, this was machined correctly and this thing was right. Well, after some polishing on here, and I know it's still not beautiful, especially not for a new distributor, but I get about a 4 thousandths press fit now. So the press fit is going to be important, guys, because the press fit is going to allow this to take some of the load off that roll pin that's going to be here. So I'm going to put this distributor in the freezer for a little while, and then we'll slightly heat this up a little bit, and we should be able to come back in here and go bloop right down on there. And I will say this, I am not impressed with the quality Petronics of this piece. As you can see here, you see these little places look round. That's where they have knocked off little plastic feet. That's because the module assembly plate is held right here with this plastic piece. This plastic piece allows it to pivot with the vacuum advance, right? Well, somewhere in the whole tappy press thing, this thing just fell off and it was just dangling. It's on the distributor. So, not starting off good, right? I will say this, guys. I like Petronic stuff for its clean look, okay? I do not like it for its quality. And personally, it's not something I would put on my own personal cars. But if we plop an MSD Pro Billet distributor down this thing and everything else looks kind of stock, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And they're like $700 now. And this one is, it's under the $300 price mark, but it's still pretty spendy for quality of the distributor we got. So, yeah. we get this gear on there to appease comp cams, and something else is going to happen with the distributor itself, and then it'll all be wasted time, I guess. But we'll just have to see. We'll get our new gear on there. Putting the distributor in the freezer for over an hour, and then lightly heating this gear. It tapped right on there with a socket and a hammer without too much trouble. We have about a 4,000 interference fit. And with the new gear, you're going to have to drill the other side. It'll have one dowel pin hole for the roll pin. You'll have to drill through to the other side. And I put a new pin in here and put another smaller pin inside it. And then staked it on both sides with a punch to swell it out where it won't fall out. So now all we can do is put all the guts back in there and we'll be in business. So, alright, I got the distributor dropped in there temporarily. I don't have a hold down on it, but it's in the hole. I still got to pull it back out later and prime the engine before we start it. But I need to start making plug wires that fit very soon, so I need that in there. And I got our coil mounted over here. This is one of those things that you see some pictures over on this side, you see some of them over here, and then your standard 289 stuff's up here on the intake on that bolt right there. But your hypo stuff, it kind of floats in between side to side here. And I like it a little better over here because it'll be a little cooler than being sandwiched between your bypass, your heater hose, and the thermostat area right there. So I got the coil bolted on. It's secured. I'd had to tweak the fuel line just a little bit to have some clearance right here. But I think I'm at a good point to kind of stop this video. Because, guys, once again, I'm getting to kind of a stopping point. I don't have enough stuff to kind of go forward. But even though it don't seem like we made a lot of progress in this video, by our next one, we should be able to start this thing, or be darn close. Because all I got left is to put some fuel in it, put some plug wires on it, prime the engine, oil, and some battery cables. And we should be able to fire this thing off. Then we can worry about things like exhaust and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, we can at least fire this puppy off and see what it sounds like, because I'm curious. I'm sure a bunch of you guys are too. So I'm going to leave this video off here, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, share it with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And make sure you check out the album that this video's in and see what I started with this car. You'll understand where we're at. If you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys. And I look forward to everybody's comments down below. So until next video, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one.